say it with me, authors, adding cursing and a little bit of dark subject material doesn't automatically make a book adult if it's clearly not. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be talking about Highfire by Eoin Colfer, who I for many years grossly mispronounced his name because it's Irish and it's pronounced Eoin, even though it looks like Eoin or something like that. But Eoin Colfer is the author of the Artemis Fowl books, of which I read quite a few of them when I was younger. I don't think he kept writing them for a while, and so I don't think I ever read all of them, but I read quite a few and remembered enjoying them. So when I saw that he has a book that's supposed to be more like an adult kind of fantasy book instead of like kid or like YA type of book, I'm like, oh, let's check it out. Reading the description, though, I had some doubts, and getting into the actual book, this feels like a kids / YA book that he added some cursing into and a little bit of dark subject matter, although it doesn't go crazy. And like there is some gore, I guess, too, but it's just basically taking a very much younger focused type of premise and then just trying to make it more feel adult, because that's just something that kind of annoys me. Just adding stuff like that doesn't just automatically mean, it's not like there's like a huge cutoff with this is kids, this is YA, this is adult, and you can write in any of those realms, and there's some fluidity there. But I don't know, you can just tell when you're reading something that just feels like that's what it is. And the plot here, which also I don't know why the like most Irish named author who lives in Ireland decided to write a fantasy story that takes place in the bayou of Louisiana around New Orleans. Just seems like an odd choice, but that's neither here nor there. But this takes place in and around New Orleans at the bayou, and we have Squib, who's kind of a troubled kid who is trying to do better for his mom. And the setup is kind of basically there's a corrupt local cop who's out to get him and is involved in stuff, and he ends up getting involved in some of that, but also meeting Highfire, who is a wyvern and is, as far as he knows, the last dragon left in the world, because they all were killed off over time. And tell me that doesn't sound like the premise for like a kid's book or maybe a YA book, but I mean, like, if he just takes out the adult elements, kid's book automatically, like very easily, I feel like, because of just that kind of setup. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. This wasn't like a bad book or anything. I just I have to point it out, because the whole time I'm just thinking, I'm like, don't market this like this. Like, I wonder if this was his idea, or if like it's just like it was supposed to be for a younger audience, but he was a little too explicit with some things. It's sort of like, oh no, we're gonna call it all. I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna start talking about the actual book now at this point. But so I kind of explained what it's about. And it's I did the audio for this. I'm binging More Light and Shadow right now on physical and Kindle, so I wanted to find some shorter audios to listen to so I could still get some reviews out. And this is one in my library. I had a copy of the audiobook, and so I kept that. And the audio is pretty solid. A lot of the Nolans type of accent and that type of thing going in here well. But it was just like, overall, it's a pretty basic premise, like I said, and it does a lot of the things you're expecting, although there are a few things that do go a slightly darker route. Like I said, there's a little bit of darker subject matter, although we don't like super delve into it for the most part with anything like that. But there's, like a kind of like mafia type of group in there. There's, like I said, there's the corrupt cop who's interested in our young main character's mother, and then there is some like violence and some other things, but like the kind of thing, like the base idea, I feel like just sounds a little silly to begin with, which is also what makes it feel like this should be a kid's book. But it does kind of work out, and it's the parts where we actually like talk about like the history of what's happened with dragons, and how like it's our dragon here, Highfire, is got to like hide out because technology has advanced. There's more advanced weaponry that could pretty easily kill a dragon, and it's not like back in the day where they were fighting against humans who just had like spears and bows and arrows and stuff, and even then dragons could be killed if overwhelmed. And so those kind of parts of it I found really interesting. But the overall, and this very well could just be me, like the whole New Orleans setting that we were really, really focusing on here, I didn't really do a whole lot for me. It was fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it was, like I said, it seemed interesting enough. It kind of built some lore around dragons and explaining things that had happened and talking about some, well-known stories about dragons from the past here and there. So it did a little bit of the things that I liked and I would have liked to focus more on. But overall, just felt, like I said, like a much younger reading story, just with some very coarse language kind of thrown in there and some other adult items like that put in just to try to make it feel. And I feel like I never react super well to those kinds of books. So if you want a easy to get through, it's kind of fun at parts, but that has a little bit of darker stuff in language, if that doesn't bother you, that's more likely what you're going to be interested in if you're looking for it to read a little younger. And that's why I want to harp on it, because if you go in expecting like this is like honest to goodness an adult fantasy, and like I said, there's a big wide variety of range there, but this felt very younger reading, and so I think that's part of it. It's just like but like I said, I feel like in general this was an odd choice for this author of subject matter, location, and setting, and it felt like he was just really trying something out of left field, and it wasn't bad, but it also didn't necessarily work for me either. So I just feel like this was kind of a miss. I don't know if he's planning on writing more books that are coming from this, if like this is going to continue. The door is kind of left open for that, but it's not necessarily super explicitly set up, nor do I have any idea what he would actually do to continue with this particular story. But it's with that, I don't know. Like I was really curious, and so like I didn't regret reading this. I was really curious, but I've been putting it off for a while because I had a feeling I wasn't going to care for it, and I was mostly right. Like it was all right. It wasn't bad, but just kind of nothing special for me. And like I don't know if I'd even like his other Artemis Fowl books. I've read those today. I've reread some things that I liked from when I was a kid, and I can be really hit or miss, but I was curious to find out. So if you were also curious to find out, hopefully this is giving you a little bit more. And if you're planning on picking up, hopefully it gives you the right expectations, because the way this is marketed, I don't think is particularly accurate. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Is if you were interested in checking it out, now you'll hopefully know a little bit more about what it is and how it's written and that sort of thing. That may help, but it's kind of where I landed on it. That's really it though for this one, so make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description as always for the Wizard Video Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, any books, really anything at all. It is a lot of fun and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.